Hello, Patriots. I'm Lee Watts, and this is Patriot Point, your source for Kentucky news and analysis from a conservative, Christian, and common sense point of view. Well, I hope you all had a happy 4th of July celebrating our freedom. It's been said before, quite correctly, that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We have to be paying attention to what's going on in our government to make sure our rights and freedoms stay protected. Well, there is a new law which is going into effect this month, and it is going to directly impact your freedom. And we need to do something about it. Let me tell you what this law is first, why it's wrong, and what we can do about it. It is what is called KRS 150.170. And it says if you own less than 5 acres of land, then you have to pay the state to get permission to fish or hunt on your own land. Now, I know some of you right now are thinking this. Whatever your reaction, yes, this law is wrong and it needs to be taken off of the books. The idea that you have to pay the state in order to hunt or fish on your own land. Like here's a picture. This is 5 acres of land. Let's say that you had this pond dug out, you stocked this pond, you've done everything with it. You still have to pay the state for permission to fish in your own pond. And every time that you do this without a permit here in Kentucky and you get caught, the fine is anywhere between $50 to $500 for each violation. So this is a problem. Now, some people say, well, the cost to get the license isn't actually that much money. The problem is not the cost to get the license. The problem is that we have to get the license in order to do this on our own land. This is an example of government overreach. There's a wonderful quote from the great abolitionist Frederick Douglass talking about things like this. Notice what he said. Find out what any people will quietly submit to, and you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them. And Mr. Douglass is quite correct on this. Just find out what people are willing to put up with, and then that's what's going to be imposed on them. So let's say this is not correct. We're not going to accept this, and we're not going to allow this to be imposed on Kentuckians. Now, some people say, well, how did this thing ever become a law? Well, because this was part of a bill that was 48 pages long, and it dealt with all kinds of topics. It said this is how we're going to appoint people to some of the Department of the Fish and Wildlife, and this is how we're going to set up some audits for the Department of Fish and Wildlife to make sure everything is being done properly. And it did several other things as well in that department, and it also said, and the people have to pay us if they want to hunt or fish on their own property under 5 acres. So this is one of the reasons why I am a huge proponent for single issue bills, not single topic. This all has to do with fish and wildlife, but it does a myriad of different things. Most of them good, but this one part is bad. Single issue topics. It would solve a lot of problems both in our state and a national level. And things get done a lot quicker as well. And we wouldn't have to start accepting all this bad stuff to get a good thing to happen. And the same thing in reverse. So this is a problem that we have, but there has been a bill that's been proposed to correct this. Often the legislature will make something a law and they realize, there's a section of this we kind of need to clean up to make it better. So that's very commonplace. And there has been a bill that's been proposed to clean this up and take this part out of an otherwise good bill. This thing to clean it up is called BR 85. BR stands for Bill Request. See, the legislature is out of session right now. They will go back into session in January, and this will be given a bill number. But until January, it is Bill Request 85. And it's just cleaning this up, saying we're not going to make people pay to hunt and fish on their own land under 5 acres. So what you can do about this to help to defend Kentuckians' freedom on their own land, you can contact your legislator and say, hey, I would like you to be supportive of BR 85. You can contact your state legislator 2 different ways. First of all, you can send them an email. Everybody's email address at the Capitol is the exact same. You put their first name dot their last name at lrc.ky.gov. That stands for Legislative Research Commission, Kentucky Government. So put in their first name dot last name at lrc.ky.gov. Or if you prefer, you can call and leave a message at the Capitol Message Center. Just say who you are. I'd like you to be in support of BR85. And the phone number to call is 1-800-372-7181. If you choose to call or if you choose to send an email, just make sure that you are active and involved. Do what you can to help protect freedom. And I always tell people, when you contact your legislator, remember these three things. Be brief, be courteous, and ask them to contact you back with what they will be doing. So this is what we've got going on this week, an infringement upon really our liberties and a way that you can push back effectively against government overreach. I hope you'll do your part. And before we sign off this week, I want to put another plug in for the latest book that I've written. It's an action-adventure spy novel that's really combining a lot of biblical prophecy with the things that are going on today, right out of today's headlines. It's called The Coming One, and I've got a link where you can get it right here in the description of this video. I think you'll really enjoy it. So until next week, I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point, reminding you that liberty is not a spectator sport.